Hello, everybody. I'm Seth Weissman, and welcome to another episode of Safe Real Estate. Today, I want to talk about what happens when the house your buyer is buying is occupied by a tenant. And the key first question to figure out is, does the buyer want the tenant gone because the buyer's planning to move in? Or does the buyer want to keep that tenant in place? If the buyer wants the tenant gone, the key thing to do is to always write a special stipulation saying that the buyer's obligation to close on the purchase shall not arise until the tenant is completely out of the house, because what the buyer doesn't want to do is to be forced to buy a house where the seller may be in the middle of trying to evict the tenant. And we have given you a sample special stipulation for you to include in contracts. But for the most part, what you want to do is have that stipulation control over any closing date that you might have included in the purchase and sale agreement. Now, if the buyer wants to keep this property as an investment property, then what you want to do is to have the seller assign to you, as part of the sale, the lease of the property to the tenant. And in addition to that, you want to have the seller at the closing transfer any security deposit that the seller may be holding to you as the now buyer and landlord of the property. And one thing that's always helpful to get, but it's rarely gotten in real estate transactions, is something called an estoppel certificate. And if you can get one of these signed, I would highly recommend it, because what it basically does is the tenant signs something saying that the attached lease is in full force and effect, that there are no violations of the lease to the tenant's knowledge, and most importantly, the lease has not been amended in any way. And by getting the tenant to sign an estoppel certificate, it gives a lot of confidence to the buyer that in fact this lease is legitimate and can be fully enforced. I hope this episode of Safe Real Estate has been of benefit. As always, it's great to see everyone, and please continue to tune in. Thank you now.